Arteta's biggest tactical problem was exposed against Liverpool. I'll be breaking down why Arsenal's build-up is killing their attacking threat, the major issue with the Odegaard role, and why this one space could define Arsenal's season. So, what must Arteta change to win the Premier League? And did Liverpool hand Arsenal a blueprint to fix it? Now let's be clear before we get started. This was a tight game, and the league is not over, it's just one game. But there is a glaring thing when you look a little bit closer here, because actually there's a lot of similarities between the way the two teams set up in this game, but the way they applied themselves was how the game was won and lost. And I mean it. I know it's just a free kick, and people think it was just a free kick, and that just happens, but it doesn't just happen. It's part of a deeper issue that Arteta and Arsenal must resolve if they are going to win games that are tight. Let's start off with the two teams, because the two teams, as I said, lots of similarities. If you look at Liverpool, first and foremost, we knew what the team was going to be overall. SUBSTACK stepping in as a right back here, and a bit of a L in midfield, if you think of that double pivot, and then Wirtz just that little bit higher up for the team. But then if we switch it around and add Arsenal in here, a lot of similarities, okay? You've got that four, Calafiori, let's move him around a wee bit. Declan Rice and Zubimendi have sort of turned into this bit more of a double pivot, and there's a reason behind this. But Merino being the Wirtz in this situation, and this is where the game fell down for Arsenal a little bit. In a tight game that they stayed in, but the problem actually started with the build-up of both teams. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Now, both teams were trying to employ what I like to call the Pentagon of Doom in build-up. Yeah, the build-up that kind of ruins it a little bit. But the idea is that you have a 5. Now, this is Arsenal in possession. Shall we give them the ball? Let's give them the ball, and let's give the ball to Declan Rice. Now, what are you doing there? Well, Declan Rice was part of Arsenal's Pentagon of Doom. And the idea was that with Wirtz and Ekitike in that 4-4-2 mid-block, and we spoke about this in the summer, midfielders will drop in to create an overload and added width with the Pentagon of Doom to get around and through a 4-4-2 mid-block. So in Arsenal's Pentagon of Doom, Declan Rice was dropping deep. Gabriel and Mosquera, who of course came on for Saliba pretty quick, would move out wide, really split, and Declan Rice would drop deep, and that would allow them to get through the lines. The idea was to punch it through to Zubimendi at times, but also Calafiori would sometimes step in here to help them out a little bit. And even Merino would step in and drop in a lot of the time as well. But that actually came to become a bit of a problem for this Arsenal team. Now, Liverpool did kind of a similar thing. If we have a look at them, the way that they worked out was to do a similar thing with Gravenberch, as we told you he would this season, dropping a little bit deeper to help in that build-up to get around that mid-block of Merino and Gyökeres. McAllister and Wirtz would drop deep, but Wirtz would also look to be on the shoulder a little bit at times as well. The other thing that you had for Liverpool was two things. First of all, he had Gravenberch, who's very different in the role in terms of how he played it as opposed to Declan Rice. And then Szoboszlai, who would also come and help with these rotations to allow McAllister to come over here, and then Wirtz could step up and stay high. But it wasn't just the principles of it. These are two really well-coached teams. It was the attitude of which they used within it and their ability to get in behind the second line of that mid-block. So here's an example. You can see Declan Rice exactly where we said he would be in that back three, picking up the ball. Exciting stuff, right? And then again, here, getting on the ball, rotations in these areas, Calafiori coming in and getting involved as well. Why not? I bloody love it. But what's the truth? I've been lying to you guys. I've not been telling you the truth, because I've been talking about this build-up. This build-up, it all looks super sexy, doesn't it? Well, it means F all if you can't get past the second line. And Merino regularly was another one dropping deep. And that's all well and good. You've got a huge, overload in that first area of the pitch. Problem is, the game for me is won and lost here and here in games of football. And as you can see, there's absolutely no one there. Let me show you examples, shall I? In fact, I'll show you those exact same examples. They're okay getting the ball, but Declan Rice, someone who's an incredible runner with the ball, has got an amazing engine. If you're a Liverpool player, you are not worried about him having the ball right there. Merino, not involved here. Calafiori, looking to get involved. But if he gets on the ball there, are you that concerned? And are you actually getting through that second line of defence? Absolutely not. Similar thing here. Look, is anyone affecting the game? This area of the pitch is where games are won and lost. Throughout the game, yes, it's all neat and tidy and nice and neat, but are you getting anywhere near this area of the pitch? No. And that was something Arsenal struggled with throughout the game. But it wasn't just in those scenarios. It was in so many scenarios. There was I don't want to say it, there was a cowardliness to this midfield in terms of the areas that they wanted to get on the ball. And none more so than someone like Merino. This is an example where you've actually got your single pivot sitting there. Who's affecting the game here? Absolutely no one. I can't even see Gyökeres in this instance. And this is in a really comfortable position where you've got your two centre-backs wide, your two full-backs high. Why is Merino not here getting involved? Constantly not looking to hurt this opposition. Here's another example when David Raya is able to step into build-up. So again, you're 11 against 10 in this instance. But you've got that first line. Is he going to hurt the game? Calafiori's trying to come and affect the game somewhat, but really it was all very safe stuff from Arsenal throughout the game, and the data proves it. Now we'll look at the teams as a whole in just a second, but let's look at players individually, because it wasn't just build-up, it was in transition as well. Now this is Merino's touch map. Which way do you think he's shooting? Do you think he's shooting this way or this way? He's shooting this way. But I wasn't sure when I first looked at it because it's all in very, very safe areas of the pitch. And as I say, these are subtle differences, but these subtle differences make a difference. And Wirtz, who was kind of off his game, I think, in the first half, it didn't totally work for him. It was one where he still was getting in those areas where he can affect the game just that little bit more. And the whole team is going to hurt the opposition that little bit more. And he wasn't alone in doing it. So Merino, we've seen his touch map. Wirtz, this was his. Now, is he too far away from goal? Absolutely. But is he in between the goalposts? Is he looking to affect the game? And this is a Liverpool team that look to move through the thirds a lot quicker. Now, this is Arsenal's passes. And what you can see is, in terms of the chances created, they are the yellow lines. And the chances created are a long ball from David Raya and then a corner, a cross, when Eze got to the byline here. So not much kind of through that central zone, but not even much attempted passes. The red lines you'll see are the failed passes. A lot of those failed passes are safe passes, those diagonals to Martinelli that we saw time and time again. Nothing really going through the middle. And there's a few things at play here. The opposition here, Liverpool, this is the difference. Yes, lots of failed passes, lots and lots of failed passes, but lots of attempted passes. And again, in that zone, those two crucial zones, just a lot more attempts to play through the lines and play inside the block. This is a real belief for me at this moment in time that if you want to beat a team, you've got to be able to play inside the block. That's how you kind of explode a team. And this Arsenal team, it's just fearful of doing that right now. It's time to talk about Martinelli because it's not just Merino, but Martinelli is struggling as well at this moment in time. And it's another example of being kind of going at the heart of a team. It feels like this team hasn't done that enough. This is a moment where the ball breaks and there's a lot of committed Liverpool players. Martinelli has the chance to break. And look, I have to go at Merino a little bit. Merino is there, and he's not got that pace of Martinelli. You've got Gyökeres looking to make that run in behind. And as we move it along, you can see he's driven into that area. And there's a moment where Gyökeres goes, play me into those areas, those passes that we've just seen on that graphic, those straight line through balls into those areas, into that sort of that D on this side. I think if you'd think of it this way, you want to get to these areas of the pitch. So imagine if you had 3 of those Ds. That's what you want to be doing. But he hasn't got his head up. He's not comfortable in this area of the pitch for me. And he makes the wrong decision. He doesn't play the pass when he should play the pass. He hasn't got his head up. The team as a whole hasn't got the legs to get up there. And that is another issue for this team. And again, there is so much lacking here. Now, this is obviously in transition. But you win and you lose leagues for me in those areas of the pitch. Once he gets here, he just dribbles and dribbles and dribbles. And then all of a sudden, we've got your centre forward here. So you've not utilised the team that you've got here. Madueke's kind of not really believing that he's ever going to get to him. And in the end, it just absolutely comes to nothing. By the time he gets there, there's absolutely no one in the box. Marino's kind of got there, but the moment's gone. And that's the thing. These moments are absolutely everything. This is another instance where it's just a poor decision from Martinelli. But also, like, what else has he kind of got on? You can see him down that left-hand side at driving. SUBSTACK does absolutely fantastic. And he actually tries to make some odd little pass here. Now, if we go back one, you can see either you're going to play a ball in here or you've got to get to the byline and put a cross in. This team doesn't have that kind of understanding and connection. But if you look behind it, again, I will say, there's no one in this central area. Is this just a Marino one-off? Maybe. But the pass here, when he plays a pass backwards, in what world does he need to be playing a pass backwards? It's very, very strange stuff. And Gyökeres is the only person in the box, not really got much support there. This team is really, really struggling. And this is probably the most glaring one. So have a look at the time here. You can see 44-11. Madueke gets the ball. Great opportunity. So much space in front of him. Marino there. You know, if this is Wirtz, this is SUBSTACK, there's so many different players. You've got to just have a bit more energy in this moment. But this whole Arsenal side is just afraid of that zone, it feels like for me. And from 44-11 to 44-18, that's 7 seconds. He trots up to here, Madueke. Where is the cavalry? Where is the cavalry? Where is the desire to get the ball in behind or into those areas in front? This whole central zone, that's how you're going to score a goal. Madueke gets frustrated. He wants that, that attacking player to come and help him in those half spaces. He gets to about here and actually ends up just popping it off to him. He points and says, at least go that way. But instead, he goes this way. It's safe. It's ineffective. Like, now, is that run going to work? Probably not, let's be honest. And in the end, they go back. They go back to this double pivot. Now, all of a sudden, completely safe and sound are Liverpool, not hurting them in any areas. And again, look, there's no one there. There's no one there. And in fact, safe play. Once again, Marino comes to here. And even here, doesn't actually want it. And Declan Rice has to go back again. Now, for many, Eze is the answer. And I agree. Eze and Odegaard came on for Martinelli and Marino. Did it make a difference? Yes and no, because there is an antidote in what Eze does in terms of getting inside that block, but there's a problem when we look at Odegaard. And there's one passage of play that just says it all for me. So check this out. This is Eze's touch map. And as you can see, he came on as the left winger, but always wanted to kind of drive in and crucially get inside that block of Liverpool, cause chaos, and he is going to be so integral. We've got a whole video on Eze's brilliance and why he's going to be great for Arsenal on the channel. This is Odegaard's. And two places I want you to look. Here, I'm going to show you this moment, but crucially here. Now that doesn't look that bad. However, the game was being played in that final third. So to the point that we've been making, he needed to be here. And it's that one touch inside the box that tells the whole story for me. Because as you can see, he's got it there. So how did he get the ball there? Well, it's when Eze comes on the pitch. And Eze is able to just offer up a bit of brilliance here. Gets the ball and wants to get inside and cause some effing damage to this Liverpool team. And he does. And as you can see, Odegaard is on his way. Fantastic. That's the energy we want to see. That's the energy that's been missing. That's the support that Gyökeres has not been able to get. Calafiori, who started there, is able to carry on his run and let Eze do what Eze does. And he does exactly that. He sends SUBSTACK, not for a hot dog, for a yard. And then there's Odegaard getting on the ball. And so that one touch comes from him getting the ball here in space. Now, again, these players that are going to be in these areas, they also need to contribute goals. That's how you're going to win the league this year. And Odegaard in this area here, he just doesn't have, I don't know, that killer instinct. It feels like. Maybe he can prove me wrong. I hope he does. But from this moment, instead of trying to open his body up and shoot, He tries a little cute pass instead. Now, was that the right decision? I don't know, but it's what happens next that I have a more pressing concern. Because that's a moment, that's a decision, it happens. You've got Madueke who kind of wants the ball here, but that goes against everything I've been kind of saying. I want Odegaard to be a bit more selfish here and Papa it in the corner, but he doesn't. But what happens next is the big problem for me. Because as the ball then makes its way out, it goes to Declan Rice, who chests the ball. And here's Odegaard. Now, for me, I would say, first of all, do I really like the fact that you're pointing for him to go out wide? I want you to want the ball there. But if he wants to do that, that's fine. I don't totally hate it because, look, you can go here and you can go down the line pretty quickly. But Odegaard has got to stay there. He has to stay in between those lines. He has to want the ball there for me. But he doesn't. A few seconds later, all of a sudden, he's so close to Declan Rice. He's completely come out of this beautiful little space that he was in. Eze would be here. Those kind of players have got to be comfortable in those areas. And Odegaard has to go into those areas for me. Or someone at Arsenal has to go and do that. As it moves on, now all of a sudden he's here. This whole space is gone. And Liverpool are starting to get themselves set. Madueke's pretty isolated. Yes, he can go one-on-one with Kirkes, but still, if you could just be here, Odegaard, that could make life so much harder for this Liverpool defence because you'd be inside the block. Instead, the ball now has to come back. It then starts getting recycled to Zubimendi. Zubimendi's not a driver he's not going to drive into these areas. He wants to touch and pass. So actually, again, we would have been better off if you'd stayed here and Zubimendi had been here and he could have popped it to you. And so from there, the momentum is lost. And as he moves on now, Zubimendi's got to go backwards and Liverpool are set. They've seen that pressing trigger, that weakness in terms of going backwards. And all of a sudden, they are outside the block again. Gabriel tries to play a pass. He slips and the whole move breaks down from being in such an exciting position. And that is the effect that player in that position, in the Odegaard role, he has to not be playing the way that Odegaard is playing. They have to be brave enough to stay inside the block. Otherwise, Arsenal are going to struggle to win games this season because teams are going to be able to block them out. So I promised you the real reason why Liverpool won this game. And I, of course, have made it very clear that this central area is an area that Arsenal need to be much braver in getting the ball to players that want the ball there. The likes of Abire Eze, who is so comfortable in those areas, and he is going to be absolutely crucial. But Liverpool, as I say, just a lot more braver in those areas. It was both their bravery there, but also their bravery in build-up that led to them winning this game. Let me prove it to you. Because in the build-up phase, it was just far more provocative. As I've spoken about, Gravenberch, deep, dropping into it, the two centre-backs splitting, just like Arsenal. But in this instance, you got Wirtz on the shoulder of Declan Rice, I think it is in this instance. It's just a lot more provocative. The fullback, a bit more provocative. Brave enough in terms of McAllister sitting there. Also, you've got these channels here that Virgil van Dijk is doing a lot of on this left-hand side. And then it's one where Kirkes will just drift out. And Van Dijk will make that move and then play that pass to Kirkes. And that's another way of, moving the opposition just that little bit. But Gravenberch himself is brave enough as well. But throughout, yes, you can go, look, Wirtz and Marino are two different players. Yes, but it's about having that bravery of being on the shoulder and provoking the opposition to create those spaces, to make life hard for this back line, this second line of this mid-block. And that was the difference between Arsenal and Liverpool. And this is a great example because it's one where not only that, in terms of the bravery of those players moving forward, you've got McAllister, the other side here. Look, other side as well. Wirtz here. But also the bravery of Gravenberch to drive with the ball, which he does fantastically just a few seconds later. Gets the ball, there's been a lot of rotation and movement at this point, and he sees that opportunity to get it and drive, and this is what world-class players do. And Gravenberch is going to be so important to Liverpool from this point of view because it's just another fantastic way to get around a mid-block because you're ultimately going through a mid-block, and very few players have the capabilities of doing this. And what that does is it takes that 4 out of the game. You're now left with just one there. And from here, actually, he drives instead of play to McAllister, who supposedly is double pivot, who's supposed to be, if it was Arsenal, would have been standing here. Gets it. And then from there, oh God. And then from there, you're able to drive and get a shot off. And actually, that's exactly what happens. He drives with the ball, breaks those lines, and Gakpo's in. And actually, a shot comes from exactly that. And so it's that attitude. It is an attitude thing. I didn't want it to be an attitude thing. I feel like that's kind of unfair against the best of the best. You know, give a team their flowers. I think Arsenal got every chance of winning the league this year. But this is the big thing they need to change. It's not cowardly. I've been cruel in that sense. It's risk averse. And it's about going and being assertive. That's what this team has got to be. Because the goals come from that attitude. Don't believe me? Well, check this out. This is the goal. The free kick comes from this. Now, of course, the free kick's outrageous, right? But that's not the point. The point is, if you're going to hurt teams and make them panic a little bit, they're going to panic because you're inside that mid block. You're inside this opposition. It's so hard to get in behind teams now. So you have to be able to be brave enough to punch those passes through. And this isn't even that brave. This is just simple confidence. Virgil van Dijk with a simple pass. And you've had these rotations at times, but by opening it up, then having someone who's happy to stand the other side of that 4, as we've spoken about a few times now, that's where the goal comes from. It looks like a simple 10-yard pass. It is a simple 10-yard pass, but it leads to the free kick that gets them the goal. And that comes from not the pass, not the coaching, but an attitude. And an understanding that if you want to affect the game, you've got to affect the game. So look, I've been pretty negative about Arsenal in this video, but I think there is so much to be positive about. The introduction of Eze should have been one that happened earlier in this game, in my opinion. And it's one that I think Arteta will learn from. That he knows that he is comfortable in those areas. And could he allow Martinelli to be not in those areas, and therefore he can just be on the last man and you have something different and effective from that point of view? You've also got the likes of Max Dowman and Ethan Nwaneri, who I think need to make a bigger role and impact into this season, because for me, I think you need those players within that block. If you don't get players within it and explode teams, then you're going to get stopped. And getting stopped is what's going to cost Arsenal the title this year. It's not going to be the defence, it's going to be the attack. Oh, and if you want a bit more detail as to how Eze will fit in Arsenal, click here.